Hola and welcome to a new episode of the Roofless Dog and Pony Show. My name is Julio Panisello. I am the dream alchemist at Roofless Painters, a free-range art school and gallery for creative nomads of all kinds. With every episode, we reveal the theme of our next painting collection, so you can find out what we will be painting next and the reason why. We discuss the origin of the painting theme and its contemporary context, as well as explore different possibilities for visual representation in our work, using images of paintings throughout art history as inspiration and citing stylistic and historical references. In many ways, our episodes are like our paintings, messy, unpredictable, and unvarnished. You just never know what's going to happen and what are we going to say. So bear with us because we're very excited about this next painting collection. In the meantime, you can find all episodes in our YouTube channel, our Instagram account, and also you can find them as podcasts on any podcast platform. You just type the Roofless Dog and Pony Show and you'll be able to hear episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, even Amazon Music. So you can listen to them if you are trying to fall asleep because they're quite effective. You're welcome to contact us with any questions or comments about this episode, and also to contribute your notes to this presentation. We humbly stand to be corrected. So without further ado, I think that's I believe that's the expression. We're just going to go ahead and introduce the theme. We have a story to tell. We read a disturbing but also inspiring article on hyperallergic. Let me see if I can find it. And yeah, I got it. So this is a story of an art opening that went wrong, and of an artist and an official bird rehabilitator speaking out and coming to the rescue, essentially. So a couple of weeks ago, there was an opening at a very famous local gallery here in LA, Jeffrey Deitch Gallery, I think that's how it's pronounced. It was a solo show, or it's a solo show, and there was a performance on opening day that consisted of a group of people that prepared a vintage car that carried a UFO made of fiberglass on the rooftop of the car that was filled with pigeons. The pigeons were released among a crowd or in front of a crowd, and it was supposed to be some sort of like ritual to connect with the theme of the exhibition. And it was a complete disaster, mostly because I feel like at this point you don't need to be highly educated to understand that releasing birds may not be a very good idea in the wild. And I think, like, we understand that this is a practice that has been going on for hundreds of years, but dove releases are not cool, and they amount to animal cruelty. So the article sort of like records what happened exactly, and it puts names on the gallery, the artists showing in the gallery, the organization that performed the release of the birds, And we much rather just send the article to you so you can get educated, because we really want to put emphasis on the artist and bird rehabilitator who called this performance out, who got picked up by hyperallergic and gave an opportunity to educate everyone that this is not cool, that animal cruelty cannot be used in as art. Also, that there are ways that you can incorporate or collaborate with animals in a very respectful way. So we are so happy that we read the article, that we decided to reach out to this artist. Her name is Shaida Solemani, and she was kindly generous to reach back, and then we made contact with her, and but I'll just share some of the images so we have a little bit of a visual. And this is an image of the video released by the organization that put together this performance, I guess. And we're not gonna, it's a still, so we're not gonna play the video, but essentially, so this organization argues that doves have been part of rituals that have been designed to give people hope and joy and excitement, and they were essentially designed to lift them out of their mundane state of mind, to have the realization of what can be. I'm reading the quotes in the article. This has been proven out with the cheering whistles and tears of joy expressed by thousands of people who have viewed the dove release ceremony for decades now, both in person and via media. Obviously, well, that was like a really biased statement, because this probably made sense decades ago when we were not aware of the consequences of releasing birds in the wild, domesticated birds, that is. And that's the problem. Domesticated birds don't have the skills or the tools to adapt to an environment that's foreign, and it's very difficult to survive, essentially. Domesticated birds cannot find food easily, sources of food. They're prey of other animals that are in the wild, that know how to play the rules. So these birds, they get sick, they get attacked, they get malnourished, and they end up dead, or if they're lucky, rescued by people like Shaida, and then sort of like rehabilitated and either released back or back into an environment that is familiar, or just placed in environments that allow them to thrive. But just because we don't see what happens to the birds when they get released doesn't mean like the end of that supposedly symbolic ceremony is a happy end full of joy and hope and excitement. It is certainly not the case for the birds themselves. So Shaida spoke out about this, and she was fierce in defending the animals, because as an official bird rehabilitator, she's the one who is receiving the consequences, or seeing the consequences or the impact of the birds being completely, attacked or dead. So anyhow, it was very hot in LA. People thought that the UFO on top of the car was made out of metal. It was fiberglass, but to be honest, I don't know what sort of like difference in temperature that maybe. And there were a lot of birds inside that little tiny thing. And I'm going to quote Shaida, and she says in the article, while many people think that the release of doves is a symbol of peace, domestic doves are unable to survive in the wild and will rapidly grow emaciated, get killed by predators, and die unless they are rescued, rehabilitated, and placed in a caretaker in captivity. In other words, this is an unmistakable act of animal cruelty there for the world to see. I was shocked by the open willingness of both the artists as well as the gallery to release of these birds as an act of spectacle. And this is the issue as well, the idea of bringing in an act that clearly represents or is animal cruelty in something that's revolving art creation, creativity, or anything related to art. It's really conflicting, and we should know better. People should know better. Artists should know better. Galleries should know better. This is not okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just present a few paintings of birds. And also I want to talk about birds being represented in paintings, and sometimes how things have changed. And also propose the theme, because it's going to be sort of like a collaboration in a way with Shaida's artwork. So we'll just also post or tag Shaida in all our posts, but essentially what we're going to do is collect the images that she has posted on her Instagram of the birds that she has cared for, that she has nursed to health, that she has rescued, that were able to survive when they were released in the wild. And we're going to paint those birds. We're going to do portraits of rehabilitated birds. The title of the collection of paintings will be Rescued Birds, and we are going to use images of birds that have been rehabilitated by Shaida Solemani, a local artist that creates artwork and rehabilitates birds, and also is a very outspoken defender of the animals and an outspoken critic of animals being used in art creation. So there you go. We kind of like explain that, and then I'm just going to bring some images of paintings just to sort of like find some stylistic references, talk a little bit about symbolism, art history, and explain that, birds on paintings, you'd be surprised how cruelly they are or featured, because you see birds on paintings as still lives where the birds are not alive, or either being eaten by other birds or hunted by other birds or hunting other things. So their representation, it's not just like joyful and peaceful all the time. And perhaps this could be one of the reasons why we are numb to their own suffering. And so this is a painting, it's a little bit cropped by Peter Paul Rubens, and Boy with Bird, 1616. And it's just like a boy playing with a bird, and unfortunately you don't see the bird, but yeah, it just feels like a healthy sort of like interaction. There's no chain. A lot of the birds represented during the Renaissance, the Baroque, were pets, and they were painted with chains attached to them. There were also symbols of childhood and symbols of femininity. So this is something also very troublesome if you ask us, especially associating the symbolism of the bird with a gender representation, because there's always that idea of the religious aspect or the story where the female gender gets visited by a bird, and it sort of like symbolizes femininity in a way, and not necessarily in a good way. So there's a Rubens right here, and then we also have let me see, this is a much more modern, oh my gosh, it's just not, you're not going to see the bird, but it's sitting on her shoulder. This is by Leon Basile Perrault, The Bird Charmer, and it's another depiction of a human figure with a bird in which there's a sort of like interaction, that it's not based on anything apparently cruel. There's no there are no cages, there's no confinement. The bird is not presented as food or something to consume or something to represent like a hunting trophy. So we're just enumerating several ways that birds have been depicted on paintings historically. So this possibly has this romantic idea of symbolizing or using a bird to symbolize the expression of gender. There's always something that I personally find disturbing, because we associate birds with something to be domesticated, to be caged, to be decorative. There's something that we could associate with owning a bird that doesn't have really healthy expressions in describing a gender. So lots of those paintings, as little trouble as they have sort of like an underbelly that it's not really great. So this is a Bill, I think it's Bill Trailer. Let me just double check. Bill Trailer, 1940, untitled Woman with Bird. We brought it just because of the different stylistic representation. So we had something very classicist before, and this is something much more contemporary. So stylistically, this will be a portrait of birds. Some of the images that Shaida posts, they do have her hand featured on the image. So there is that beautiful connection between the animal and different species of animal that just creates a different narrative. And the bird is right on top of the video, but yeah, a different stylistic representation. And also this one is very interesting because Berthe Morisot, the French Impressionist painter, created this in 1891. It's titled Young Girl with a Bird, and you can see the depiction of her favorite things, essentially botanical elements, and also I believe this is her daughter Julia. I believe, I'm not sure. I should double check. But there's something different about this painting compared to the ones that we've seen before, and it's the fact that there is a bird, there is a girl, so there is the symbolism of that relationship, but the bird is not being held by the figure. There is a detached aspect between the figure and the bird that changes things. And perhaps we should say that maybe the difference between the previous two examples was that two male artists painted that, so there's a component of the male gaze that possibly got involved with this romanticized idea of painting a female figure holding a bird, or being the bird whisperer. There's something about I wouldn't go to the point of objectifying certain aspects of the female of a gender, but maybe perhaps there's a justification for that, but not so much here. Berthe Morisot, being a female painter, she had a different take on representing figures. So the bird here is free and it just doesn't seem domesticated. So there is something powerful and inspiring about how these two focal points are depicted in a way that show independence, mutual admiration, and certainly respect for each other. So even though the same subject is depicted with different stylistic measures, I would say, or tools, there's definitely a different narrative between human and animal here that we absolutely love. And I think painting wise, yeah, we have this gorgeous Georgia O'Keefe, this time without any human representation, a black bird with snow covered red heels by Georgia O'Keefe, painted in 1946, and a very stylized and minimalistic representation of space. I don't know if you can see the actual separation between the geological formation of the snow-covered mountains or actually, hills, and the distinction with the atmosphere or the air. It's so subtle that makes it so beautiful. And then this very statuesque like figure of the bird right on top, like completely off frame. A really interesting way of depicting the bird, and also a bird in the wild, in nature. There is something here that feels respectful, paying homage to this figures or entities that are part of nature, and depicting it in a way that is helping us become part of the audience and standing in awe looking at the scene, but certainly a different non-romanticized way of depicting an animal in the wild. And possibly our favorite bird, the goldfinch. Oh, it's cropped. But we love this for many reasons. Painted in the 1600s, I believe. And Carol Fabricius painted this. Not a very famous artist, but he should be. 1654. We read the novel The Goldfinch, the first novel of our book club, and we created a series of recreations of the painting, not copies, recreations of the painting. And we got a chance to talk about how unusual it was for this artist to paint just a bird. Because again, especially in the Renaissance and Baroque, the depictions of birds with humans, they had a very strong sense of becoming symbols for something. But not here. The only thing is that this is not a domesticated bird, but it's certainly, if you can appreciate the chain, the bird is chained to this sort of like structure. So anyhow, so finally we're going to share two examples of photographs on Shaida Solemani, and of course they're not cropped, but two examples. You can see the little finger and the feet, but that's going to be one of the photographs that we're going to use as a reference. And this is probably going to get cropped. Oh, this is better. This is another photograph, and we invite you to look for Shaida Solemani on Instagram. Follow her, support her. She's doing an amazing job, not only documenting things that she's passionate about creatively through artwork, but also being the voice of the voiceless. And one of the comments, she says that she's never experienced a busier summer rescuing birds. So it's sort of like not a very good sign. So apparently she's been very busy nursing birds back to health, saving them from dying, and then either releasing them to caretakers in captivity so they could continue living their life and thriving, or just releasing them if they're not domesticated, releasing them and by just making sure that they are going out at the right time during the right migratory period in which they will be able to go back to their origin. So that's it. This is the presentation. Let me see. I'm just gonna go back to the main screen. Again, rescued birds. We are featuring photographs taken by Shaida Solemani, an artist in Los Angeles that is a certified bird rehabilitator, works to rescue birds that are unable to fend for themselves, or they have suffered attacks, most of them because of these dove release parties or performances or rituals that are not what they appear to be. They are acts of animal cruelty, and we should be aware that that's not a practice that we should have anymore. Anyhow, we'll be happy to put the link of the article so you can find out about the organization, who wrote the article, who's in the gallery, and how no one wanted to take the blame, essentially. I think that's the most important thing before we just end the presentation. The gallery said that they didn't organize the event. The artists didn't speak up about any connections. The organization that did this mentioned that they contacted a reliable local business that knows how to do this. But in the end, no one really wanted to take responsibility for the fact that those birds are gonna have a terrible fate. And that's the truth, and that's the reason why Shaida has no I would say filter or no problem just speaking out against galleries, big or small, artists, influential or not, that are involved in this practice. So link is on our calendar already. We're gonna send an email explaining a little bit the premise again, with links to the article so you can see the video of the release. Some people were not cheering and they were not clapping. Some people were horrified, and I think it's important to mention that as well. But we hope you join us. It's always so much fun, and we learn a lot. 2 hours of painting, 1 hour of critique, and join us. It's only $20. So thanks for watching this, and until next time.